Today I want to share with you how to accelerate stocking your prepper pantry now. Hi sweet friends, I'm Mary and welcome to Mary's Nest, where I teach traditional cooking skills for making nutrient-dense foods like bone broth, ferment, sourdough, and more. So if you enjoy learning about those things, consider subscribing to my channel and don't forget to click on the little notification bell below. That'll let you know every time I upload a new video. Now the first thing that I want to mention, if at any time you want to jump ahead, be sure to open the description underneath this video while I'll list timestamps regarding everything I'm going to talk about. Well, I have heard from so many of you in comments or in emails about how you've had to access all of the foods in your prepper pantry over the last couple of months. And you had to do this either because of illness or weather or supply chain problems that led to shortages in our grocery stores. And others of you have shared with me that you never started a prepper pantry, but now because of rising prices and world events, you really want to create one now. And the common theme that I have seen throughout these comments and emails is that you want a way to accelerate building up or starting your prepper pantry in a quicker way than I generally have shared with you in the past. So today, what I want to talk with you about is how to accelerate stocking or starting your prepper pantry so that you can build up a 1-month supply of food on only one shopping trip, but how to do this within your grocery budget. And I'm not talking about hoarding or clearing the shelves. We just want to get at least 1 month's backup of food into our prepper pantries. Now, I just want to take a minute to speak to beginners who are new to the concept of building a prepper pantry. So if you're very experienced in this, be sure to check out the timestamps and jump ahead. Now, some of you have contacted me and you know what a prepper pantry is all about. You don't have one, but you're ready to start. But others I know that may be watching this video are new to the concept of the term prepper pantry. So I just want to give you a little review of exactly what that means. And basically, when I use the term pantry, the general term pantry, I'm referring to the Four Corners pantry. And the four corners are your working pantry, a closet or a cupboard in your kitchen that you access on more or less a daily basis, and then your refrigerator, and then your freezer, and then finally your extended pantry, or what we nickname the prepper pantry. And what we do with our prepper pantry is we stock food in there that then allows us to use that food to restock our working pantry when our working pantry foods become low. So basically what we're focusing on in this video are non-perishable foods, both those in your working pantry as well as those in your extended or prepper pantry that you're going to use to restock your working pantry, as I mentioned, when your supplies in your working pantry run low. Now, why might they run low? Well, there might be illness in your family, there may be job loss, there may be bad weather, there may be a whole host of events like we've been going through over the last few years in our own country, as well as those of you around the world. And you see supply chain problems and you see shortages at your grocery stores. There's just a whole host of reasons why you always want to make sure that you have some backup food that you can rely on in the event that you're not able to get out and go shopping, or you don't have the money in your budget to go shopping, or the food is simply not available. Now, I think many of us know what we mean when we use the term non-perishable foods. But if you're very new to cooking and stocking a pantry and now moving on to creating a prepper pantry, what we mean by the term non-perishable foods are simply foods that don't need to be refrigerated or frozen. Examples are canned foods or dry goods like pasta and rice. Now, I have a whole host of prepper pantry videos that include why we need a prepper pantry, how to stock a prepper pantry with just real food that you can buy at your grocery store, and how to do it on $5 a week, as well as how to properly store your food, and so on and so forth. And I have all of that in a playlist for you, and I'll be sure to link to that in the iCards and in the description below, and I'll also put it in the pinned comment because I know some of you have told me that's a little easier for you to access than having to open the description description. Now, in one of those videos, as I mentioned, I generally recommend you just add $5 extra a week to your grocery shopping, and then you purchase some items for your prepper pantry with that extra $5. And then little by little by little, you're able to build up a nice supply of food, whether you want 2 weeks worth, 3 weeks, a month, 6 months, a year. It's totally up to you, but you do it little by little by little so that it doesn't stress you or stress your budget. But today we're going to take a slightly different tact, and we're going to talk about how to accelerate that process and where we can find money in our grocery budget to allow us to buy 1 month's worth of food for our prepper pantry. And to make this whole process very easy for you, I'm going to have some printouts that you can download, and there's no email required. It's very easy for you to do, and you can print out as many as you want. Also, something that you might find very helpful in this entire process is after you're done watching this video, go and watch the video that I shared with you last week. In that video, I went to Walmart, which many of you have asked me to do, not to shop at H-E-B, my local grocery store, but to go to a Walmart, and that's what I did. And I show you a whole host of foods, many of which cost $1 or less, and they're all real foods with which you can turn around and make good, nutritious, nutrient-dense meals with. There's no junk food, nothing like that. It's all real food. And I think you will find that video exceptionally helpful, and it'll lift your spirits to know that there are a lot of good, real foods that are budget friendly and that you can find at a store like Walmart, which, at least I believe in the United States, more or less is a national chain. And Walmart didn't sponsor that video or this video. It was simply something that I wanted to do because I have received so many requests that I would go and shop at Walmart and show the type of things that I would recommend buying, and also show those items that were very affordable, and that's exactly what I did. Okay, now let's get started with the process of how we're going to accelerate stocking our prepper pantries. The most important thing you need to do, whether you already have an existing prepper pantry or if you're new to this process, is you want to take an inventory of the foods you already have on hand. Look at what you have in your working pantry, look at what you have in your fridge, your freezer, and if you do have a prepper pantry, how much food do you have left in there? Now, as we go through these steps for accelerating how to stock our prepper pantries, starting with this inventory, you will find that the printouts that I have will be very helpful to you. So don't forget to download those, and I'll have the link below that'll take you over to my website, and you can print them out, and as I said, no email required. I make it very easy for you. Now, as you do your inventory, begin to write this down on a sheet of paper. We'll call this List 1. And as you're looking at your inventory and putting together your List 1, also think of those things that you may be putting on your grocery list. Maybe it's those things that you're completely out of. And most of us don't buy everything on every grocery trip. So you may want to even think back a month or so. And if you have grocery lists that you keep in your kitchen journal, which I always recommend that you have a kitchen journal for keeping notes of the various things that go on in your kitchen. But if you can think back to your grocery lists over the last month or even over the last couple of months, and start adding those items onto your list number 1 if you don't see them in some area of your Four Corners pantry, because as I said, maybe you're completely out of it, so there's nothing in your pantry to write down, but you know, oh, I usually buy X, I'm just out of it. Put all of this on your list. Then the next thing that you want to do is transfer all the non-perishable items from list number 1 over to list number 2. Then the next thing that you want to do is for all of the perishable items on your list, you want to think of non-perishable options. Now, it's not going to be perfect and you're not going to be able to come up with a non-perishable item for everything, but think more in terms of staples, because when it comes to stocking your prepper pantry, you're really thinking about stocking it with real foods that are staples. So if, for example, you usually buy maybe 1 whole chicken a week, a fresh chicken, think of what would be a non-perishable option for that, such as canned chicken. Now that you have your list number 2, of all your non-perishable items, you might be saying, oh my goodness, how can I buy a month's worth of those within my weekly grocery budget? And that's what we're going to talk about right now. What you need to do is look at your list number 2 with all of your non-perishable items, and you need to start crossing things off. So what are we going to start crossing off? Now, I know some of you who are very far along on your traditional foods journey may not need to cross this one off, but I think there are many of us who may need to cross a few things off, and that's junk food. And the types of junk food that I'm talking about are things like potato chips. And even if you buy potato chips that are fried in lard, you need to cross those off, because that is not the most important thing that you need to have in your prepper pantry. So just go through your list number 2 and cross off anything that you would consider a junk food. Maybe you're at the very beginning of your traditional foods journey, and maybe you've got, I don't know, maybe like Pop-Tarts or something. Cross that off, because first of all, that's something over time you'd want to phase out anyways, and secondly, that's like maybe a treat or a luxury or whatever the case may be, and we can definitely find things that are healthier and less expensive to substitute. So cross those things off. Next, as you go through your list, cross off any sodas or other types of carbonated beverages. And again, even if you like those Zevias like I do that are sweetened with the herb stevia, cross them off. This is not something that we need to worry about putting in our prepper pantry as we try to quickly build a month's supply of backup food. And although you know how I love my chocolate, if there is chocolate on your list, it's going to have to be scratched off, even if it's organic and stevia sweetened or whatever the case may be. We're going to just focus on the real important foods, and we're going to have to scratch off some of those luxuries. Next, I want you to go down your list number 2, and I want you to start scratching out anything that's a pre-packaged type food. What do I mean by pre-packaged foods? If you're in the habit of buying cookies and crackers, even if you buy very simple ones like saltines or graham crackers or even something organic, scratch that off. Now, is this forever? No. If you want to buy saltines in the future, that's fine. Those can be a little challenging to make. I have a lot of recipes for how to make cookies and crackers, and most are very easy to make. But I know graham crackers and saltines do require a little more work, so I understand that you may be buying those at the store instead of making them homemade. However, while we're serious about accelerating this, stocking our prepper pantries, you're going to want to eliminate buying prepackaged foods like saltines and graham crackers and just rely on making some other type of homemade cookie that's easier, like the cowboy cookies or the molasses cookies that I've shared with you in videos and recipes. Other examples of prepackaged foods would be things like cereals. They can be very expensive. Cross them off your list. The only things you want to make exception for are things like old-fashioned rolled oats, and not the instant oats, the old-fashioned rolled oats, the steel-cut oats, or even better, your whole oat groats, which are, as the name implies, it's the whole oat. And I have a video where I show you how easy it is to take whole oat groats and make oatmeal with them. And the nice thing is, they sort of, if you go along the continuum, your old-fashioned rolled oats are going to be reasonably priced, but the most expensive on the oats continuum. Your steel-cut oats will be a little less expensive, and then your oat groats are going to be the least expensive, and this is per ounce. But as I shared in my video last week, when I shopped at Walmart, I got a big tub of old-fashioned rolled oats for, I think it was a little more than $2. It really wasn't very much at all. So that's a very affordable food. And oats are a wonderful staple for your prepper pantry because there's so much you can do with them. You can obviously make oatmeal, but I have a recipe where I show you how to make an oatmeal bread that requires nothing but non-perishable items from your working pantry or your prepper pantry that's very easy to make. You can also obviously make oatmeal cookies that are loved by everybody, and cowboy cookies. So definitely consider adding oats to your prepper pantry if you've not in the past, or if you're new to creating a prepper pantry, and start trying to wean yourself off the box cereals. But definitely during this process, when we're going to accelerate everything, you want to take that off your list too, because that's not something that you're going to buy in this trip. And don't forget, another nice thing with buying your own, buying the old-fashioned rolled oats, you can also make your own granola. So it's just really a lot of things that you can do with it, and you can easily wean yourself off those more expensive box cereals. Also, as you go through your list, in that prepackaged or processed foods category are all the various boxed foods that are sold at the grocery store and that you may be buying. Maybe you're buying mac and cheese already pre-prepared in the box, or maybe you're buying those rice dishes that are already pre-prepared in the box. Scratch those off. You're going to buy regular macaroni, shells, spaghetti, whatever the case may be, and you're going to buy rice, whether it's white rice or brown rice. White rice, although less nutritious than brown rice, stores much better. The shelf life is a lot longer, and you can improve the nutrition considerably by cooking it in things like bone broth and adding some butter and sea salt and so on and so forth. So you can turn it into a nutritious side dish. So when you're looking at your list, and then when you're at the grocery store and you're looking in your cart, you want to see the least amount of prepackaged or processed foods possible, because that's what's going to really eat into your budget. Next, as you're going through your list number 2, you want to scratch off bread if you buy bread. Now don't worry, I'm not going to leave you stranded if you've never made bread before. I have a video along with a printable recipe where I show you how to make sandwich bread, and it's very popular. It has well over 1 million views, and so many of you who have never made bread before have told me that was the easiest bread you ever made. You basically mix it, let it rise, plop it in the pan, and bake it in the oven. And I think once you do this, you're going to really build your confidence that you can be a bread baker. And you're going to find that it comes out so nice and so tasty that you're never going to want to buy regular bread again. Now, if you've never made bread before, so on your non-perishable list, you may not even have flour, you may not even have yeast, and so on and so forth. But don't worry, because I have a free 36-page, what I call essential traditional foods pantry list. And you can download that, you can print it out and put it in your kitchen journal if you want, or you can just download it to your phone, whatever the case may be. And that will walk you through all of the various things that you generally are going to want to start stocking in your kitchen as you move on your journey towards creating more of a traditional foods kitchen. And I talk all about the different types of flours, whole grains, if you get to the point where you're eventually milling your own flour. So all of that will be listed there. So if you say, okay, I'm going to take bread off of my list 2 here, my accelerated prepper pantry list, and I'm going to take that bread off. And so I'm going to go to Mary's essential pantry list, and I'm going to look and see, what do I need if I want to make bread? And then you're going to add that to your pantry list, your list number 2 for your non-perishables, for stocking your prepper pantry. So you're just basically working through this list number 2, and you're trying to cross out anything that's not really essential. What can you get away with for a month or 2 not buying, so that you then can put more money towards increasing the number of non-perishable items that you can buy for your prepper pantry. So for example, if you generally buy 1 can of green beans, because you've maybe scratched off the chocolate and the potato chips, can you now buy 4 cans of green beans, and so on and so forth. So that's how this is going to work. And I call this the easy way of doing things, because if you look at what you have in your pantry right now, and if you also look at past grocery lists, you basically know how much food you're going to need for a month. Now, Are there these various food calculators on the internet where you put in how many adults and how many children and how much food you're going to need? Yes, they're all over the internet, and I'll be happy to share some of those with you. But as I've shared with you, and as many of you have shared with me, when you do that, it can become a little nerve-wracking when you see the amount of food that these sites are telling you to buy. And the other thing that you need to think about is sometimes they're recommending food that you may not necessarily be having in your kitchen. They may not be things you eat or things you cook or whatever the case may be. So I think just really looking at what do you have now? What do you stock now? What do you cook now? It just makes more sense. The next thing that I want to mention as you're going through list number 2 of your non-perishable items, if there are any cleaning products that you can remove from your list, all the better, because those store-bought cleaning products are often on the pricey side. So if you can scratch those out as well, you'll have more money for the food to stock your prepper pantry. And if you basically have water, rubbing alcohol, baking soda, maybe some borax or a washing soda, and some vinegar. Vinegar you can even make homemade, and I show you how to do that in many videos with some scraps. And if you want to get real fancy schmancy and throw in a couple essential oils, with those ingredients you can pretty much make anything you need to clean in your house and do the wash. And there again, there's all sorts of sites on the internet and YouTube videos showing you how to make various home cleaning products. As a matter of fact, many of you may already know Robin over at Faith and Flour. She has a lot of recipes for how to make homemade cleaning products, and I'll be sure to link to her channel. And the same goes for personal care products. Go down your list and look at what personal care products you're buying and what you might be actually able to make homemade. I have a few simple recipes for how to make a face cream, how to make a foot cream, how to make some hair oil, if you have very dry scalp or dry hair. So there are various things like that that are relatively easy and inexpensive to make. And again, just like with the cleaning products, the internet is full of recipes for making various homemade beauty products and personal care products. And what you want to keep in mind that I think you're going to find very interesting as you go through this process, if you're new to this, is that when you start making homemade cleaning products, you're going to be impressed at how well they work and how pleasant they can be to use, especially if you're the kind of person who is susceptible to like air type related allergies, or you find highly scented things like a lot of the cleaning products that are sold commercially. If you're sensitive to those fragrances that they have and whatnot, I think you're going to find that homemade cleaning products are quite delightful and they work exceptionally well, and you literally can make them for pennies compared to the couple of dollars you may have to spend on a store-bought cleaning product. So again, money's available more for food, non-perishable food, for your prepper pantry. And the same goes for personal care products. I think when you start making a lot of these things homemade, you're really going to find that you're very impressed with how well they work and how pleasant they are to use. So by crossing a lot of these items off of your list number 2, you now are down to the bare bones of essential foods, essential non-perishable foods with which you can make nutritious meals to feed yourself and feed your family. And there are lots of other ways to find additional monies to put towards your grocery list that I'm not really covering here in detail, but that there's a lot of information about this again on the internet. Things like the Penny Pinching Gazette and whatnot talks about all the ways you can save money. And just off the top of my head, some very simple ways are, if you live in an area near a store like Half Price Books and you look around your house and you have a lot of books that you really don't want anymore, you can bring them and sell them to Half Price Books, and really just, you make pennies, but at least that's something you can add to your grocery budget. And if your area allows you to have a garage sale, and now with maybe the weather eventually will become a little more mild, and you want to haul everything, you know, out into your driveway that you don't want anymore. My girlfriend did this and I helped her, and she was so pleased. By the end of the day she had made $400, which was definitely plenty of money to help her stock her prepper pantry. But that's really just touching on the tip of the iceberg. You know, as I said, there's so many ways that you can save money to then put towards your grocery bill. So definitely look around your house, think of what you can do, and even if you tend to eat out a lot, say, okay, maybe for the next month or two, I'm really going to cut back on that and I'm going to do more home cooking. And the money that we would have spent at the restaurant, I'm going to put towards my grocery bill. So these are just little things that you can do that you can, at the end of the day, so to speak, when you get to the bottom of your list number 2 and you look at all of the things that you're going to need to buy and you know how much you need for a month's supply, I'm confident that you're going to have the money that you're going to need and still stay within your grocery budget. Now I want to share with you some tips for how to shop very judiciously and get the best buy you can when you take your list number 2 with you to the grocery store. But just to review, in case you've jumped ahead and missed some of the other parts of the video, what you're going to do is first take an inventory of your pantry. Second, you're going to put everything down on your list number 1, and then you're going to transfer all of the non-perishable items from your list number 1 to your list number 2, and then you're going to come up with all your non-perishable items to replace your perishable items from list number 1, transfer those to list number 2, and then you're very strictly going to go down list number 2 and scratch out all of those sort of non-essential foods that you really don't need. So now that you've got that list number 2 with all your non-perishable foods to stock your prepper pantry, what are we going to do when we go to the grocery store? The first thing we're going to do is go to the clearance aisle. You want to look very carefully through everything in the clearance aisle at your grocery store. Now, don't feel bad if you don't have a clearance aisle. My grocery store doesn't have an aisle. It's basically a couple of end caps. But that is the first place we go when we go grocery shopping. And I find so many things there that are non-perishable items that are perfect for stocking in my prepper pantry. Once you finish in the clearance section, then you're going to move on to the rest of the grocery store, to those aisles that sell the non-perishable foods. For example, say you're in the aisle that sells the canned foods. Don't just go in and start grabbing canned foods blindly. You want to compare the per ounce price of the various canned goods. So for example, if you're looking at canned pears and there's a store brand and then there's a name brand, look at the difference in price based on the ounces and pick the one that is the better buy. The brand name may be a better buy if maybe it has a store coupon with it, or you've clipped a coupon from the various handouts that may or may not still come with the newspaper. And today, many grocery stores will have apps that you can have on your phone that will also tell you that there's a particular discount on a particular item. So take advantage of all of this. And then once you know which of the items, whether the store brand item or the name brand item is the better buy, that's the item that you want to buy. And also be sure to look at best buy dates, because you want to get those items that have the farthest out best buy date whenever you're putting things into a prepper pantry. However, don't be too deterred by the best buy date, because I have videos and blog posts where I talk a lot about this, where here, at least in the United States, they talk about how foods are good well beyond their best buy date. But nonetheless, when you're shopping, trying to look for those things that do have the later best buy date, all the better. Also, keep in mind for those items that may all be stocked together, but some may say 25% more or 50% more, and they're often the same price as the item that doesn't have that same nomenclature on the package. So as you're looking through the canned good aisle, the fruits, the vegetables, the tomatoes, and then the various dry good items like your pastas and your rices, always be looking for any that may be offering more at the same price as the standard package. And generally, you're most likely going to be leaning to buying store brands because overall they are going to be less expensive than the name brands. The name brands may be less expensive if you have a coupon or they have one of those specials where it says 25 or 50% more, so on and so forth. But generally, when in doubt, always lean to your store brand, especially when you go down your aisle. Today, grocery stores have wonderful store brands for unbleached flour and store brands for yeasts and sugars and salt. So there are very affordable store brand options as opposed to feeling that you always need to buy name brand. And the store brands have become very high quality, at least in my humble opinion. So always lean to the store brands before the name brand. Now be sure to go and watch that video from last week where I show you how to buy very reasonably priced foods. And even though I'm shopping at Walmart, those rules would definitely still apply to most grocery stores in your local area because I'm buying all store brands. So there's some good prices there. Now, if you want more information on how to stock a prepper pantry, be sure to click on this video over here where I have a whole playlist on why we need a prepper pantry, how to stock it with real food, and how to do it on $5 a week when we don't need to accelerate. And I'll see you over there in my Texas Hill Country Kitchen. Love and God bless.